Welcome everyone to our live webinar here at QCamp this afternoon, the new sister company of Usability Research. Our live presentation today is called Making Your Website User-Friendly to Maximize Profit. Before we begin, I just want to give you a brief introduction to QCamp and our team. Here at QCamp, we offer a wide range of services from web design to social media analytics. In fact, this year we will be introducing iQ, a new piece of software that our team is currently developing. iQ will be pulling data from our clients' social media outlets and giving them useful information about their online marketing efforts. So a lot of new and exciting things are happening here at QCamp this year. Today's session will be recorded and available to you later on today. As you think of questions, please do type them in your upper right-hand corner in your chat or question box, and then we'll go ahead and address those questions after the webinar is over. After today's webinar, please email me comments and suggestions for future webinars at michelle@qcamp.com. And today's hashtag for today's webinar is QCamp User Web. The layout of today's webinar, we're going to talk about several topics. First, we're going to talk about finding balance between overwhelming and underwhelming designs. Then we'll talk about the relative importance of search and navigation and how to improve both so that your users can find information on your website. Next, we'll talk about how to describe products and services so that your customers understand them. We'll also talk about costs of having a bad designed website. We'll talk about usability guidelines and when to bend the rules. We'll talk about how to create a pleasant user experience and internet presence that makes people want to do business with you and your company. And lastly, we'll talk about where to spend your money to achieve maximum improvement in user experience metrics. So the goals for today are very simple. We want you to always think about the end user. It's very important. Otherwise, why would you have a website? The whole purpose of your website is to bring users and clients and customers to your site, offer your products and services, and to get them to purchase those products and services. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today, since our focus is going to be on users, is how do they think? How do your user base think? So when we think about our users and who's going to be going to our websites and purchasing our services and products, we have to think about cognitive psychology. And cognitive psychology examines the mental processes such as how people think, how they perceive things that they see or hear, how they remember things, and how they learn. Cognitive psychology emerged in the late 1950s, and it was a reaction to behavioralism. Behavioralism shows the behaviors acquired through conditioning. In order to think about your users, you also have to think about human factors. Human factors examine the properties of human capabilities and limitations. It also focuses on physical, cognitive, and social properties, such as ergonomics. Will this fit between people and their work? It emerged during World War II, and prior to World War II, pilots made fatal errors due to complex equipment that they just didn't understand. People then were matched with jobs and machines. Also, when we're talking about users, we have to think about HCI, or human-computer interaction. And this emerged in the 1980s with the introduction of personal computing. It is the study of the interaction of humans and computers and how they interact with one another. The intersection of disciplines are computer science, cognitive science, sociology, and human factors. All come into play with HCI, or human-computer interaction. So when we're thinking about our users who come to our websites or who are going to purchase our products or services, we have to think about the attention span of our users. How well do they pay attention? Pay attention, please. Wake up. A lot of you are snoozing right now. No, but we do think that way when our users come to our websites. It really takes about 50 milliseconds for someone to come to your website and decide if they're going to stay on your website or leave. So you have to grab their attention very quickly. In order to keep your users' attention, you have to know the cognitive process of focusing on aspects of the environment while ignoring the rest. So if you have things on your website such as avatars that are distracting your users or videos that start playing right away when they arrive to your site, you're taking them away from the core of your website and the main purpose of your site, which is for them to get through it, order your product or service. This requires a lot of mental effort. And there's also blindness because we sense little from our environment sometimes. So you have to have things pop out at people. Here we have a heat map that shows where exactly our users' eyes are moving, what they're paying more attention to. And as you can see, when we do task-focused tasks with individuals, when we do Google searches, all of the focus is on the first 3 to 4 topics that come up after they type in some keywords. And the stuff to the right is barely looked at. And the stuff to the right are ads, pop-ups, videos, things that just come up that's distracting them. It's not the main focus of why they went to Google. They went to Google to do a search on certain keywords, and they don't care about the ads. They don't care about the videos popping up. There's also banner blindness. A lot of websites, especially newspaper websites, have a lot of banners on the right or left with a lot of advertising. On the right, we can see that they're focusing on reading the article that they brought up, and they didn't even look at the things on the right. They didn't even look at the banners. So you need to pay attention to that, because if you're spending big bucks on your banners, you may want to rethink those marketing efforts because users just aren't looking at them. So some factors that affect attention, the complexity of the task, and especially if you have your users multitasking. So let's say that you have a home page that comes up that starts showing a video right away. Well, people don't want to have a video talking to them right away, so they're trying to click it off. And they're trying to multitask by trying to figure out how to click off the video and also read the content that they came to the website for initially. There's also physiological factors such as reading print versus the computer screen, and there's selective disregard, ignoring menus. There are also patterns that users have, strategies for limiting cognitive effort. So humans don't like to work, especially when they're surfing the web. Therefore, we have to find shortcuts for the users. We have to apply the same rules to similar situations. We have to be a sort of a creature of habit, if you will. And do not try anything new, only familiar to your users. That would be more for if you are redesigning your website. Users are used to certain things on your current website, so you want to translate that into your new website. So we talked a little bit when we spoke about users and attention, we talked a little bit about menus and how those can be overlooked sometimes. So now we're going to talk about menu navigation. We get a lot of people who already have websites designed, and they come to us for their redesign, and they have maybe 10 main menu options. And it really should be between 4 to 6 menu options, because users can only remember 4 to 7 items at a time. So that's why we say 4 to 6 is a rule. Also, if you put any more, it gets a little confusing for the user, and your labeling gets confusing. So any more, people get confused and information gets buried. Here's a photo or a screenshot of a sitemap. And web design companies will give you sitemaps, hopefully, that show you your menu navigation. So the top layer obviously is your home page. The second layer is your main menu navigation. So here you can see they have 7. main menu options, and then they have submenus. And this is a great way to show clients how items are getting buried or how you might lose information. So you don't want the sitemap to be too deep, because that means you have too many submenus and information is going to get buried. However, you don't want it to be too wide, because then you're giving your users too many options. So if your web design company doesn't present you with a sitemap, it shows their inexperience, and you should probably bolt and go with a more experienced web design company. This is a prime example of a website that has too many menu options. You can see on the top that they have 4 main menu items. However, on the left, look how many categories they have. In the middle, look how many pictures and labels they have. It is very, very confusing for users. Very confusing. So today, compared to 10 years ago, user behavior has not really changed much. There's still a strong reliance on the back button, and there's confusion with multiple browser windows. Users still close any pop-ups before looking at them. They ignore the ads. They look for elements that appear clickable, and they spend little time on each website. So how do you get your website to stand out? Well, visual perception is key to this. You have visual acuity. So biological, it's like the accommodation of your eye. So it's the sensitivity of your eye, the age of your eye. You know, a lot of websites that we get when we do our free usability report, we look at the typograph. We look at the colors selected. And sometimes with sensitivity of the eye or the age of the eye, having white font on a black background is horrible. If you have that now, please change it. It hurts the eyes. Users do not stay on the website for more than a second. It's just distracting and it doesn't work. So please change it. There's other sensitivities as well according to color, but also font size as well. With visual acuity, you're also looking at the stimulus, so characteristics of the target. What's the size of the font? What's the contrast that you're using? Is there any motion involved? And cerebral processes as well, attaching a meaning to what they're visually looking at. So there's a 10-point rule when designing websites. For a general audience, you want to use between 10 to 12-point font size. If your website is geared towards senior citizens and people with visual impairments, you want to up that to 12 to 14. For young children and beginner readers, you also want to up that to 12 to 14. And for teenagers and young adults, you can use between 10 to 12 for font size. The Mayo Clinic does a great job of letting their users decide what font size they need, because they have a whole range of users coming to their site. So the best way to integrate that into their site was to say text size, minus or plus. Very simple, very easy. Anyone from a teenager to an elderly adult can figure it out. And it's great because it'll up the font size if you need it, and it'll lower it if you don't. So uppercase letters also slow reading. If you use all uppercase, please remove them, because uppercase removes word patterns. Just a tip, write your headings and titles in sentence case or title case only. And please be consistent within your website. Be consistent on the same site. Use the same things within site navigation conventions. Implement web standards. Use a search box at the top of the page. OK and cancel buttons position in a consistent place with your OS. Language is also very important when it comes to web design. Word order matters for comprehension. So read this sentence. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Drops of molten silver filled the night sky. Okay, that takes 4.2 seconds to read. The next sentence, the night sky was filled with drops of molten silver. This takes 3.5 seconds to read. So use word order because it does matter with comprehension. And people, like I said, only spend a few seconds on your website. So the more that your sentences in your website make sense and you use word order matters, it's going to work better for you and you're going to condense your time considerably. Skimmers versus readers. Everyone on the internet skims. Skimmers spend less and less time on each word and comprehend less. On the internet, you'll only find skimmers unless they're looking at a newspaper site and they're reading articles. So you have to keep that in mind. Everyone's skimming. This is another heat map that shows you exactly where the eyes of the user are focusing on. And it's the baby's face. That's the first thing that they look at is the baby's face on the site. And then they start looking at the heading a little bit and they kind of read a little bit that paragraph, but they're looking mostly at the images. So next, when thinking about your users, you have to think about problem solving and decision making. Distracting users is not a good idea. So as we talked about earlier, you can distract users by the placement of ads, videos, avatars talking to you. There's so many times that our clients spend so many marketing dollars making avatars that talk to the client when they first come to the website, and people don't want avatars talking to them. It's annoying. They just did a search. They want to be brought to your website. They want to start looking for what they came to the site for. They don't want someone to start blah, 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 talking to them when they first get there. And all they do, when we do our research and avatars pop up, people just start clicking. And there's no X in the upper right-hand corner of the little avatar. The avatar is just standing there talking, and they don't know how to click it off. And sometimes they don't understand, well, I need to go to the next page, and she'll be quiet. Or I need to click on something, and she'll stop. Some people just don't know this, so they leave the website. It's probably the number one reason why people leave websites if they have avatars. So you want to reduce the interaction cost. You want to minimize interferences. You want to streamline the interaction. You want to minimize the amount of reading because, as we just learned, we only have skimmers on the internet. We want to minimize attention switches. We want to make information readily available to the client. So what are customers looking for? They're looking for clean and concise advertising, not cluttered with words or photos because it's not needed. And they're definitely not looking for stock imagery. So many of our clients spend so many dollars on stock imagery. And you can tell that it's stock imagery. People and users on the internet want to see real photos that you've taken of your work. Information that they would want to know on your website needs to be readily available. And any forms on your site that do not ask a lot of information. So many times companies get in trouble with forms. They get users through the site, they get people to want to sign up, and then they get to the form to either contact you or to sign up, and it's asking for way too much information. Name, email, and maybe a phone number is all you need on a Contact Us page. Have you already gone too far just by doing that? Sometimes, depending on your clientele, so you really need to do your user research and figure out what your users are looking for. So again, with your users, you need to look at social psychology. So this is the social web. You have to have social proof. So you have to generate trust and likability on our website. So you have to have people trust you on the internet. Well, good ways to do this on your website are to have testimonials from previous clients, reviews, endorsements from experts, and also popularity if you have a blog, number of comments, number of downloads, number of members or subscribers. Social media plays a huge role in this. You have social modeling, so do what we see others do. If your friends say, oh, I really like this site, I got ordered blah, blah, blah from it, you got to go too, that's social media that's spreading the word about your company. So new members will contribute more content if they see that their friends are doing it, if they receive feedback from you, and if they have a wide audience. So in summary, emotions and design, emotion to driven behavior. The attractive things work better. Now, this statement can be taken sometimes blown out of context where we have clients who want crazy graphics on their websites. And they think the more crazier they've got of the graphics, the better. And they're going to attract people. And they're going to be like, oh, this website looks great. Sometimes crazy graphics don't really mean much to people. It's kind of like with our company Usability Research when we work with the video game companies. They just keep making the graphics better and better, which gives a more realistic experience to the user, which is great. But that's all they do with the game. The story still stinks. They didn't improve anything on the user interface. They didn't improve the storyline. They didn't improve a lot of things. All they improved was the graphics. And users are like, okay, well, it looks good. Looks a little bit more realistic than it did last time. But the story still stinks. The user interface sucks. I can't figure it out. So sometimes attractive websites aren't the best thing to have. Apple does a great job of making their website attractive, yet simple and easy to use. Everything's clear. You know exactly where the main menu navigation is. You know exactly what page you're on. The graphics are awesome, clear, very crisp looking. So they've just done a very good job of designing their site. Mercedes-Benz has done a great job as well. It's very attractive, grabs your attention, gives you an awesome photo and a lot of great information, and it's easy to figure out. Tide is another great example of a very simple, clean, attractive website. It's very clear what page you're on. It's very clear what you're supposed to do. The girl's very cute. The photo's very good. Everything's clear, crisp, and looks great. Now, the California.gov website needs a little help. And why? Because it's all words. Remember, we don't have readers on the internet. We have skimmers. So there's a lot of information here, and unless you know exactly where to go, you're going to get overwhelmed and leave. Or you're going to try to search for a Contact Us button, and you're going to try to contact them to find out the information that you need. And they're going to say, go to our website. Well, we're at the website right now, and take a look at it. It's very confusing, it's very overwhelming, and it's not very attractive. So next, when we're talking about websites and good design, we are also talking about SEO, or search engine optimization. Now, we are going to have a webinar on advanced search engine optimization coming up very soon. So if you're interested in just SEO, pay attention on our QCamp website for the date of that webinar. So for search engine optimization, we're talking about how you're going to search and bring up your website. So Google, you can Google any search engine, and they all use algorithms that determine your page ranking. It changes monthly and sometimes weekly, and no one really knows what it is. And it could take anywhere from 6 months to a year for your website to come up if you don't have good SEO. Really what it boils down to is how popular is your website? How many good users are you getting to your website? Do you have a blog integrated? Do you have your social networks integrated? You can check out our whole free social networking series to learn more on the specifics of how to use these sources, such as blogs and our social media outlets. So for SEO, again, it stands for search engine optimization, and it's really up to the search engines and the web browsers to figure out exactly where are you going to rank. Don't ever, ever, ever let a web design company charge you for just doing SEO unless they didn't redesign your site and all they're doing is SEO. What companies need to do is to embed tags within the code of your website pages. They need to use keywords, and they have to do keyword research with your competition in order to figure out what keywords to use. Use anything that's free. Sign up on search engines, and there's many tricks that we use as well to get your ranking up there quicker. So a lot of clients come to us and say they kind of are hemming and hawing and they're not sure if they should do their own website or if they should hire a company. Bottom line is when you make a website on your own, it equals no usability. Users are not even thought of during the whole process. So when you make a website on your own, it's a huge time investment and a huge learning curve. The usability expertise is completely missing. Graphic design is missing. Sometimes even programming is missing. And what I mean by that is that you're using elementary programming. A lot of these free sites out there where you can make a free website or on your Mac all have elementary programming. And that leads to coding errors on your website and making your website not function properly in a few weeks. Maybe it functions today, but it may not function in a few weeks. Or you may use a different web browser and your website acts completely different. Or text is overlapping images, whatever. It's a very expensive lesson. One of our clients tried to make a website on their own. We've actually had a few now, and they used a free website building tool, and they spent months every night working on this website, figuring out things, teaching themselves things, which is great. And they got all done. They launched the website, and they found that nobody was coming to the site. First of all, no one knew about the site because SEO is missing. Second, people were coming to the site but then leaving right away, so it was a huge bounce rate. So they learned a lot of stuff. It was an expensive lesson. They had elementary programming, so they had a lot of programming errors within their website. So sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Shopping cart they had because people were ordering items on their website. They lost money because the shopping cart didn't work properly. There were glitches because menus were overlapping photos. Text was overlapping photos. Things didn't line up. The website just was not consistent. And information architecture was missing completely because they could enter whatever main menu navigation they wanted without doing any research, without doing a sitemap, without proper labeling. So without proper labeling, the labels that they put in didn't make sense to the users. So users couldn't find information that they needed. So if you want to check out your current website for coding errors, you can go to validator.w3.org, and this will check the code of your website. It'll tell you how many errors are on each page, what the errors are, and sometimes it'll even suggest a solution for fixing those errors. Not comfortable with fixing the errors on your own, QCamp does do that for clients. You can go ahead and contact us and we'll do that for you. You can also check out your current website on marketing.greater.com. This goes through SEO, it goes through your ranking, it goes through your social media outlets to see how you're ranking and doing on all of your marketing efforts. And it gives you a grade on your website out of 100. It's free and it'll give you all of this great information for you to improve upon. I love this photo. I always show this clip art in this webinar as a woman getting punched out by her computer screen. And she says, I thought you were supposed to be user-friendly. What happened? I came to your website and it stunk, so I left. We want to make sure that your site is user-friendly. And the only way to do that is to make sure that information is readily available to people when they come to the site. Forms are very easy to fill out and don't ask a lot of personal information. The content is relevant, So you're not just repeating yourself on each of the following pages just to fill up pages, which companies do. And you are able to be found on the internet. So here at QCamp, we have a free usability report in conjunction with Situated Research. So we have our staff at Situated Research that helps us to perform this report as a free evaluation of your current website. It goes over 20 different areas of usability for free. It goes over your menu navigation, your labeling, your structure, consistency within your website, your content, your graphic design, your logo design, implementation of your blog integration, your social media outlets, all of this information. We give you great feedback in this great free report. So you can go to the link or go to visit our website at qcamp.com and go ahead and order your free report. Usually it takes about 48 hours to get a response back. And then one of our account executives will go ahead and go over the report with you and answer any questions that you might have. We do this all for free. It's not a gimmick. And most of the time we do get clients out of it. However, as you go through the report, you'll find that there's nothing that we can make up. We actually pull up your website and go through each area of the 20 different areas of usability, and we say this is what we're looking for, and we can clearly look at your website and see, oh, you did a great job, or oh, it needs a little bit of improvement. This you could do on your own. This you'd probably need to hire a company to do it. So we're very honest with you. We want to give you good feedback and help your website out, make you successful. Trust is huge on the internet, on websites. So the top credibility factors are direct or indirect experience. So having served that users well in the past is very important. Good and speedy customer service is important for those users who have had a problem or a question. Make sure that you respond to them right away. Being a well-known and respected brand. One of the long-standing or being a subsidiary of a respected company or at least affiliated with one. Your appearance is very important as well. You have to have a clean, professional website. You have to have a visually designed website so that it matches the tone and aesthetic preference of target users. Content's very important. Your content has to be truthful. If users catch the site and lie, they'll assume that all other claims are false as well. Specific information and facts including prices, whether items are in an inventory or not, is important too. Making sure that your content is updated and it's recent content is very important. And having comprehensive information. So if something the user knows about or expects to find is missing, they wonder what else is missing. Also traceable to physical world or the outside. So you have to tie to the physical world. Have an address, have a phone number on your website, a way for people to contact you. A customer service contact information page, make sure it's easily found on the website. If you make it difficult for people to reach you, they're not going to trust you on the internet. Some other factors are business models. Any kind of bait and switch tactics lowers your credibility online. So adding things to shopping carts that users didn't ask for is devious. Aggressive lead generation tactics, such as asking for personal information way too soon before users are ready to make that commitment, also are going to hinder them turning into a client. And you have to have a competent website, good usability, easy to navigate, meaningful search results. Some other smaller issues, you have to have good endorsements, good free information, lack of hype or hard sell, customer reviews, and examples of previous work that you've done for others. So now your website should be headed in the right direction. And the only way to do that, if you haven't done so yet, is to use user-centered design. Basically, we're focusing on the users' needs, their tasks, their goals. We have to spend some time on initial research and requirements, but it will benefit us in the end. We have to identify our target audience and observe them in their natural environment, accomplishing their tasks and goals. So we have to let users define product requirements. Where are their needs? What do they want to accomplish? How does their environment affect their behavior? Emphasis on iterative design process is very important as well, based on iterations of the project through testing. So as we start to design a website, different times during the development process, we'll have users test a site. And those are different iterations of the design process, because you may tweak something, keep going with the website, and then at the end test users and they're like, whoa, 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 you totally changed this. This isn't what we were thinking, and you could have made that change in the middle of the project. You also evaluate the system on real target users. The time to build a basic website is about 2 to 4 weeks, just depending on the complexity of the site and what the site's going to be doing. If it's an e-commerce site, it might take a little bit longer depending on how fast you get materials to your design team. If it's more complex, such as databases are involved, it may take anywhere from 2 to 4 months. So this gives you a little bit of a time frame, but it really depends on your project and your needs and what you're doing. So where do you spend your money? Usability research. A good firm to get your website going with is someone who does usability research. If you already have a website, definitely get the usability research done. The benefits are that you get actual testers to use your site before you launch, and then you find out everything that's wrong with the site. It could be glitches, or it could be with user behavior. It's actually cheaper than going back after it launches. And different people tend to identify different problems, so it's good to get a user base and test your site. That doesn't mean that you build a website on your own, get a bunch of your friends to look at the site, give you some feedback, and that's it. We're talking about user research, actually having a usability company come in and actually bring in outside users who have no affiliation to you, don't even know you, who will review your website. You have to take a heuristic approach. So at Situated Research, so QCamp's the sister company of Situated Research, and Situated Research does all of our usability research and testing. And we use heuristic approach. So we evaluate on several criteria that we talked about earlier. Because we're not part of your project, we're unbiased. So there's no inside politics involved. There's no inside agendas involved. We are using an unbiased approach. We will give you honest feedback. Reviews are based on our extensive experience. So we've tested over 1,100 websites and intranets with more than 3,000 users so far. And not just in the US, but all over the world. So we know what works, and we know what doesn't work, and we know the patterns that users' behavior has. So who should invest? Companies that are interested in having their website or intranet or applications subjected to independent expert reviews. This is useful if you're looking for a new strategy or direction for user experience. If you're not, it is still a good idea to commission an assessment of your website from time to time. So we can test your existing designs, your design specifications using wireframes and storyboards before you even start, prototype designs, paper and pencil designs, ready to release websites, already released websites, whatever, we can test it. You receive a written report, so it describes all the problems and issues that we come across. It's often complemented by a conference call for questions and additional advice on the design. It usually consists of about 60 to 90 pages. And just because it's longer doesn't mean that you got more value. Some of our clients are like, hey, my report was only 50 pages. Well, you guys did a really, really good job. There were just a few things that we found. So it doesn't mean more problems with usability. It doesn't mean better value. Just depends on what we find. So the report will address 2 levels of issues. Specific usability problems, so the design will recommend changes that will improve the usability. We typically find between 50 to 100 design elements, even in the best designs. And second level of issues that we find are high level analysis. So of the usability directions for the design and the recommended strategy for achieving significant advances in the user experience. So you can request to see a sample report if you would like, and pricing for usability research and testing starts around $4,500. Bottom line is you have to have your site tested by professionals. It'll save you money in the long run. So go with a company that cares about your user experience. If you don't do usability research and testing when you're going through the design process and you go ahead and launch your website, you've not only spent all that time and dollars on making a website, but then you find out it's a flop and you have to redo it, and you're spending that money again, sometimes more. So it's best to invest. Users will know if you put the time into your company's website and your product. They are all linked together. So if you have any questions about the free usability report that we talked about earlier, where we go through the 20 different areas of usability on your current website for free, go to our website at qcamp.com, fill out the form, and we'll go ahead and get that report to you. If you want usability research and testing, please contact us. We'd love to help you with that as well. So I'm going to leave you with our contact information. Remember, today's hashtag was QCampUserWeb, so you can follow the discussion on Twitter. And if you want that usability research and testing, go ahead and contact us at Situated Research, and there's the contact information there. Again, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with our contact information up, and we'll go ahead and do Q&A now. I want to thank everyone for attending today, and have a wonderful day.